What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Comment Writers. You've tuned into the best damn Kamen Rider podcast on the planet. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. Today on the show, we're going to talk about Kamen Rider Zeztz episode 31. But first, let me introduce my co-host, Toby Toves. How's it going, Toby?
Hey, that introduction was all over the place compared to my usual standard I'm used to. I just want to throw it out there.
I mixed it up on you.
Oh, it almost threw me off.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
It's okay. Josh, so I'm a very do and then think person versus like think and then do. I'm sure you've...
Just like my 6-year-old. Great.
Yeah. You've compensated and adjusted for this over many years at this point. So I'm a big fan of ramen. Like actual like go to a restaurant ramen.
Oh, like fancy ramen.
Not so much like the 12-cent like kind of stuff. Well, I like those too. But so we've been going to a fancy ramen place once every other month recently. And one of the things that I realized I liked in like good professional ramen is they have bamboo shoots, which is like, I guess just plain bamboo that's been soaked in broth, maybe some other seasonings. It's a very like weird texture, but good texture kind of thing.
Is it like, does it end up being soft then when you eat it? Like if it's been soaked?
Yeah, like it's very like light and colored compared to what you would expect bamboo to look like.
Interesting.
I'm going to DM you a picture of bamboo shoots while we're talking. But yeah, so basically like they don't really taste like much, but there's a flavor to them. And then they soak up the broth flavor kind of deal. And from looking into this, bamboo shoots are basically when bamboo starts to grow, it kind of looks like the head of asparagus. And that's where you want to get the shoots. So my property line has a bunch of bamboo that's been growing over the years that I'm really supposed to be stopping because in Pennsylvania, it's like the opposite of an endangered. Yeah, it's an invasive species where you're really like not supposed to have it. And I think it's mainly on my neighbor's property and there's a bamboo barrier buried underground. But since I like cut down some of my tree line, it's getting extra like encroaching. And I think because there's no more, it's all sun and no more shade kind of thing. It's been coming into my yard. So this morning I was looking at my little bamboo field and I saw that there was a bunch of sprouts coming up and I looked at them and I was like, wow, this is prime time to get some bamboo shoots. This might be fun. So this morning I picked a bunch of bamboo shoots out of my yard. I took them into the house. I guess we'll call it like broke one open to get to like the meaty part inside. I sniffed it once or twice. I took a bite. I started chewing on it. I was like, well, this kind of tastes grassy. It's not that big of a deal, but like this is not what I expected that I'm used to in the broth. And then I decided to look online, and I was informed by my caretaker that bamboo shoots need to be like boiled and like at least cooked to get like toxins out of them that aren't good for you.
Okay, great.
So I might have poisoned myself this morning with my homegrown bamboo sprouts because I was so excited I had some bamboo.
What a way to go out! Like if that. If that takes you, could you imagine? Be like, well, what happened? Well, he found bamboo in his yard and decided to eat it. Turns out it's poison. That's crazy.
I feel like from all the stories, even like from us doing the comment writers specifically, I've been walking a real fine line recently, the past couple of years with the stories I told you of like putting my hands in things I shouldn't and just all sorts of other dumb things I'm doing.
Sure.
So I feel like the bamboo death might actually be like the most poignant of like, well, we saw this coming. He obviously wasn't going to stop himself, and now here we are.
Yeah, all signs pointed to eventually he was going to die by ingesting something he found in his yard.
He was definitely going to be like his own like arbiter of his own demise.
For sure, yeah.
We did get there eventually.
It's not going to be an external force that takes him out. It's certainly going to be an internal one.
Yeah.
At any point in this, finding the bamboo in the yard, deciding to cut it, bringing it inside, and then eating it, at any point prior to asking your caretaker about it, were you worried?
No.
Okay.
Whatever you're gonna follow up with, absolutely not. I literally I took the trash out this morning. I saw the sprouts poking up. I said, "Oh, bamboo shoots." I just ripped them out of the ground, walked into the kitchen, and said, "Hey, look, bamboo shoots." And then I ripped one open and smelled it and took a bite. And then it was assessed afterwards. I probably should not. I mean, I'm sure I'll be fine, but it was assessed after the action was already taken. Hey, like this is actually a thing. You probably did this the wrong stupid way. Just so you know.
Well, since you're clearly this part of your brain doesn't function, let me tell you that most people, I think, would be a little skeptical of just eating random things that they find in their yard. Like that's usually a good, healthy skepticism and fear to have. Like for example, like when I was growing up, we had a bush that had berries on it, like red berries, and they were poison berries. And I definitely tried to eat them a couple times when I was like a very little kid. But eventually, Toby, most people learn to not eat the random things they find in their yard, you know.
But like that's not like I feel like I'm hearkening back to my ancestors. I'm going
Oh, you're
like
going back
I'm
to
going
hunter
like full,
gatherer.
yeah, I'm going like full caveman. Like,
That's true.
hey, this looks like a vegetable. I'm gonna eat it. And at least in 2026, I have the perk, some would call it, of I know what I was eating, at least in theory. Like maybe not so much in practice, but like I knew they were bamboo. Like no matter what, I know they're bamboo shoots. I just don't know when you're supposed to pick them or eat them, or if there's actual prep work to do to like get bad shit out of them for you or whatever. I just saw like, hey, this looks crunchy and bright green, like a fresh vegetable, and decided to take a bite out of it.
Yeah, because the important distinction here is that the cavemen handled this by like, hey, if Jim picked something out in the yard and ate it and died, then we know that that's dangerous. Like, I don't think you want to be Jim in this scenario.
I think it would be a funny way to go, but no, I
Me
don't.
too. Yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying like, hey, I have a death wish. I'm eating yard bamboo. I'm just saying sometimes my excitement gets me ahead of like where my brain should be, and
Yeah,
then
I get
it
that.
all goes downhill from there.
Yeah, I also do that, but it's often in like, it's not in like eating things type way. It's like in tackling projects that are too big, or like thinking that I can do something with time that I just don't have. Like that's usually where I go when I get too excited about something. But yeah, apparently yours is just eating random yard waste. That's exciting. Yeah.
We all have our green crosses to bear.
We do. Yeah.
And mine's just in the shape of bamboo.
My dad actually has grown bamboo for a couple years now. Like they have like a kind of a bigger property, and on the back they've got some like places where they can grow larger things, sort of. And yeah, he's got a bunch of bamboo shoots, and it's always so randomly he'll just go cut bamboo and then have like bamboo canes and stuff. I was like, all right, well that's a hobby, I guess. I don't know.
See, I think it's fun. Like where the bamboo forest that I live next to now, like it was close enough to where I grew up, where I remember driving past it and being like, wow, look all the bamboo, this is cool. And then eventually when I like bought the house that I live in now, I was like, it took me a little bit for it to click, but I was like, holy shit, like this was the bamboo thing I always liked. And it's crazy because at my old house, I always wanted to get bamboo. And again, like it's an invasive species in PA. And at one point I distinctly remember going on Reddit like 10, 15 years ago, where I was like what Pennsylvania subreddit or like some planting subreddit, whatever. And I was like, hey, everybody, how do I get bamboo to plant in my yard? It seems really cool. And everyone like instantly took like the Reddit smarm of, you stupid asshole. Like it's an invasive species. Like you're not actively supposed to be doing this. This is a nightmare. You're going to like fuck over your neighbors. And then like all I wanted was my little bamboo field. And
Just
now I have
bamboo
it.
field. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not trying to hurt anybody, just yourself, you know? Yeah, the invasive species stuff is really interesting. My old house, there were trees in front of every single house in the subdivision. And I remember right, like ours was like maybe not looking good or something, or like, I don't know, there's something wrong with it. And I have a friend who is, I always call him a tree scientist, but I guess he's like, I don't actually know what it would be called. But anyway, he in college, like his specialty in science that he was kind of majoring in was he was like really into trees, and like he would go out and like take core samples from trees to figure out how old they were and stuff, and they'd go out and like look at the rings on a barn to figure out when the tree was cut that they built the barn with and stuff, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So he was at our house one day and we mentioned the tree to him and he was like, "Oh yeah, like that's actually an invasive species in Indiana. You don't want to like replant that same tree. Like that'd be bad." And then we were talking, it's like, "Oh, every single tree in this entire neighborhood." So we're talking like, 20 trees alone on this street are this same invasive species. And like you'd think you would like do that one single Google if you're the subdivision like house building company who's planting the trees, but I guess not. I don't know.
It seems to me that like they would sell it too. Like I know I can't actively go buy bamboo to plant here, and like with bamboo, I know it just does like I think they're called rhizomes, but they basically just like shoot like they don't actually like flower and bloom. When one grows, it shoots like another little root that goes into the ground like 6 inches and it just pops back up again. So like that I can see being invasive because like since I cleaned out my tree line, it just grows. Like it actually like turned into like a little mini jungle out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So like that's definitely crazy. But I don't see how like a tree could be an invasive species because I feel like trees take a long time to like plant, grow, whatever. Versus like
I'm not sure. Yeah, it might. Yeah, I wonder if it's the similar thing where it is just very virile and the the little seeds or whatever go everywhere and start sprouting, or I wonder if it's like a thing where it's like, ooh, this fits in very dangerously to the ecosystem, like maybe it's poisonous to animals or something. I don't know, I'm not sure how it all works, but yeah, supposedly it's bad for some reason.
Yeah, it's crazy. The other fun thing too is like we have a plant nursery vaguely close to where I live, but not so much. But they specifically specialize in only native to Pennsylvania plants.
Cool.
And I'll tell you, anything that's native to Pennsylvania is just like plain ass leaves, and like boring as shit to look at. Yep. So like any color or fun that's anywhere in where I live is all definitely, we brought this from out of the state. So like basically my whole state is just a invasive nightmare, I guess.
One thing that we also learned about and I think somewhat decided to ignore sometimes. So mulch is often like dyed. Like the color of mulch is not like natural. And that apparently is also like pretty bad for the environment too. Like
I'm sure
all the dye runs off and obviously causes a lot of problems in, the water supply and animals and stuff. So one year we got like just the unstained regular mulch and it looks like crap, man.
It basically just looks like chopped wood, right? Like
it does. It just looks like chopped wood, as you would expect. But we were really saving the environment, but it looked bad. So sometimes you got to make sacrifices for the things that matter, I guess.
Yeah, I want because like whenever I got mulch, it's always like the dyed black stuff because I think it looks sharp. I feel like contrasting to a house, plants, whatever. But yeah, like after a year or two, whatever is dyeing the wood black, it definitely like seeps out from rain, snow, whatever.
Yep.
So there's definitely stuff leaching in the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've got microplastics inside our body too, so the environment can have some bad stuff as well. Yeah.
We're all doomed.
That's how it works. Yeah, we're all just spiraling the drain together, us and the planet. Speaking of spiraling the drain, that's what Zeztz is doing right now, Toby. I don't know. It was fine.
I would say they're doing the opposite. They're still
me too.
doing pretty solid with their water flow, the dream water drinks.
Yeah, I think so too. I think things are spiraling up, if that's a thing. Where it's a tornado. that is the success that Zeztz is having right now.
Yeah, there you go.
Before we dive into Zeztz, I did want to point out that we do have a Patreon. If you want more Toby and Josh, you can head over to patreon.com/thecommentwriters, and you can download you can watch a bunch of bonus content. We watch a couple tokusatsu shows a week. Right now we are watching Dawn Brothers, which is finishing up soon, and we've started Super Space Sheriff Gavan Infinity. So if you want to hear our thoughts on those shows, that's over on the Patreon. We've also watched a bunch of stuff in the past that signing up gets you access to all of that. So you can really binge through a ton of content if you sign up for $3 a month. And Toby has actually just started a new series, the Toby Tokusatsu Gaming Club, the TTGC, right?
One letter better than the TTFC.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you're playing like toku related games, which is super fun. So if any of that interests you, again, patreon.com/the comment writers is where you can find that. $3 a month. You can also follow it for free, and you get to watch the first 3 episodes of everything that we've done for free. So lots to sample there. And you get access to the Discord by signing up to the Patreon, where you get to hang out and talk to us and have a grand old time all week long.
All week long.
Indeed. So yes, Zeztz 31. Again, I think is really just a banger of an episode. We're really kind of in the point where it feels like a lot of things are happening each week. We're getting like big reveals. They're hinting towards big things in the future. And I think we got some good revelations this time around, learning some more about some characters and stuff.
Without
and
ruining
I think
the revelation yet, I do want to point out that, like, I feel like if it worked the other way, I would bitch too. But this is like the 4th or 5th time this season where they hint towards something early in the episode, and I type the note to myself to talk to you about of like, hey, I'm pretty sure this is going to be the thing that plays out. And instead of dragging it out across multiple episodes, like I feel like other older series did, this series pretty specifically, if they hint at something being like possibly a fact at like 4 minutes in, it's paying off by like the 20-minute mark. Yep. I'm getting very irritated at calling the show and then having it revealed right away and not getting credit for like seeing through the veil and like feeling extra smart weeks in advance.
Oh yeah. You specifically, you're catching it, but not in time for you to discuss it on the podcast before it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I mean, like, aside from that, I guess, aspect of it, I think that that's a really positive thing that Zeztz has been doing. Like, they're writing stories in such a way that, yes, they are doing cool hints where you could feel smart and figure things out ahead of time. But like you said, the ahead of time is always like later on in the episode. So nothing feels like it is like dragging out too long, and nothing feels like, man, I figured this out 3 episodes ago. Just tell us already.
I don't know. Which I partially miss, like, when we first watched Zeztz was the first one.
Yeah.
Like at one point early, maybe like 10 episodes in, I was like, Josh, who's your favorite Pokemon? And I set up a very long burn for like Zeztz turning into Ninetales by the end of the show. And that took like 20 episodes, but then there was a fun payoff for me when that actually happened. And instead, like, this show is like, we started talking at 8:00 and I was like, Josh, do you like snow? And then 5 minutes later, the snow, like the forecast comes up and is like, yep, it's about to downpour a blizzard. Isn't that awesome? Kind of deal. It's just not the same.
I'm sorry for your loss, specifically as a Kamen Rider podcaster.
Yeah.
Well, we get our first, I guess, hint of things that are coming in the future, and I'm interested to hear now. This is a thing you can actually have a prediction on, and you might be correct or not. The show opens this week, Toby, where we hear 3 speaking to like a disembodied voice at the code headquarters, a voice speaking English. And the voice says, basically, we can no longer tolerate his actions. and essentially issues like a kill order. The episode obviously wants us to think that that's Baku that they're talking about. However, I don't know if that's the case, Toby.
I would say after the episode, I would almost guarantee that's not the case.
All right. Do we agree that we think that they're talking about Zero?
I would. Do we just talk about this episode in weird backwards talk?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's say yeah. I mean, of course, full on spoilers for the episode, so feel free to reveal any of the future info that you would like.
All right. So at some point towards right in the beginning, after we get the anti-kill order thing, Baku's going to visit his definitely dead parents, which I was appreciative of like, holy shit, like we're full out addressing his parents were people versus how some of the shows don't. They are definitely dead. There's graves, no big deal. And Zero comes to bug him and says his usual cryptic things like, oh, you've progressed well. I can't really talk to you.
You've really grown.
Yeah.
that's how he says it every time. You've really grown.
So he does like a weird, awkward, I'm talking to you. This probably sounds like a death threat, but I'm not really talking to you kind of thing. And when he's done talking to him, or maybe when he says like, "Do you really grown thing?" whatever, he goes to like give him like a friendly pat on the shoulder, and like half-ass does it, and then pulls up, and then acts real awkward about it, and then just kind of walks away, and he's like, "See you later," kind of deal. And at that point, I wrote down a note that says, "I wonder if Zero is actually his dad."
Well, lo and behold.
Yeah. So as the episode went on for this specific piece of the story, Zeztz goes into it's Zero's dream, right? Like effectively we're in Zero's dream the whole time, or like
Correct.
in and out.
Yeah.
So we're in and out of Zero's dream. We see like the normal Kamen Rider-y nightmares. Like there's a all blacked out version of Zeztz that looks awesome, which is like
looks so good, dude. Like the blacked
it
out
actually looks
Zeztz,
better. I actually think it looks better than all the color flash ones are cool. But if it's basically like when people they call it like murdering out a car, but it's basically when they go like flat black everything and just kind of looks like a solid black metal mass. Zeztz is murdered out in Zero's dream, and it's just a very slick looking, all matte black finished, like just blacked out outfit basically.
And he doesn't have the driver, but he has this cool like ZZZ belt around his chest, which looks awesome as well. Like it's a great design.
Like he basically looks like future Batman. Like I'm sure at some point I could probably pinpoint one if I thought about it long enough, but it basically looks like a futuristic Batman costume, more or less. But so we go through all the Zero Dream stuff. At one point, Baku is having this weird flashback moment where Baku sees a little Baku admiring this real slick bike that effectively is Zero. That was the bike form. Like
it's the Zeroider, which is the name for the bike form. Yeah.
So we see that he's like, "Hey, mister, can I ride it?" And there's a guy who's presenting as his dad, acting weird about it. And then there's Zero, the human, going like, "Yeah, man, hop on, check it out if you want to." So he kind of like helps Baku on the bike, kind of like shows him what to do, says, "Hey, you're progressing nicely, you're growing nicely," or whatever his little catchphrase was from the grave. And the other man kind of pulls Baku off the bike eventually. And then adult Baku staring at adult Zero, and they're kind of like making weird eye contact.
Yeah.
And Baku has this moment where he's like, I forget you can correct me which way it goes, but Baku either says like, "You're my dad," or Zero said, "You're my son." Right? I forget which way.
I'm trying to remember. I'm looking through my notes here to see if I'm
gonna try to find it quick.
Yeah.
While we're talking. But basically, like one of them, the reveal to the other, we are a family, we are related, blah, blah, blah. And that was the point where I got irritated, where I was like, man, I guessed this 20 minutes ago, and then I didn't get to reveal it to anyone else. But
yeah, Baku says, "To make your dream come true, you used me, your own son." That's kind of the big reveal. What kind of father are you? So Baku realizes basically that Zero has to be his dad from the "you've really grown" that he says. And then he kind of like pieces it all together from the dream that he's living. So it's like, well, why Zero dreaming about me? And then why has this nightmare been causing my bad luck? And then he kind of like is piecing those things together to realize like, oh, it's because Zero's dream was for Zeztz to complete, essentially. And then the nightmare is trying to attack Baku to prevent that from happening, because everyone's nightmare works against them, right? Against their desires. Which is complicated, but that's how he got to that point, at least.
Yeah. So all that being said and done, I think it's very cool that Zero actually ended up being Baku's dad. For like, I'm sure someone at some point was like, "Oh, there's a hint in this in episode 7 where Zero said this." But as a broad sweeping statement, I think it's kind of cool that like the main man boss of Code is also Baku's dad. That does very good like good versus evil vibes to do the family battle part as well. So I'm pretty stoked for that to be the new reveal and the new path going forward.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think Zero in this episode was really stellar, like great acting. Because during the scenes where young Baku is sitting on the Zeroider, there's such a sadness in Zero's face. Like he has this like, and it's actually not clear. And I think that that's interesting, whether in the actual moment, like he's dreaming about a thing that happened in his past, right? And it's not clear to me if he was sad in the moment when Baku was actually young because he knew that essentially he's sacrificing young Baku for his own ambitions and like he was feeling bad about that. Or I don't know if that is like modern day Zero injecting his regrets into that memory as well. I think either interpretation is fine, but I think it makes it such a really like crazy impactful scene that you get to watch this guy clearly like being really torn about this kid that's kind of like having a good time, just being a normal kid in front of him. And then of course you find out later, like, oh God, it's because like you're a monster. This was your own son and you've decided to essentially like experiment on him and kind of throw him to the wolves here. And completely disown him just for the company. Yeah, I thought that everything that Zero did was great. You mentioned earlier that Baku, of course, being at the graveyard, which does feel a little out of the usual for Kamen Rider. I like that we actually address like the parents are 100% dead. And I thought it was a cool character moment for Baku that like he finds out that these people weren't actually his real parents and that they were kind of lying to him his whole life. They had ulterior motives. They worked for Code, and he still goes to pay his respects. Like the last thing he does, right? He goes to kind of tell him goodbye and say thanks for being my parent, which is cool. Like that's what a hero would do, right? Like I liked that moment for Baku.
Oh, I think a lot of that too is tied to the realizations. Like if we put like episode or case 30 and 31 together, this basically happens moments after he has his dinner with his sister, who's not his sister.
Yeah.
And like him accepting family is the people that raise you kind of thing, or the people that, like the people that are friends with you, whatever. So it just feels like a natural continuation of the end of the last episode, where once he said like effectively said to his sister, like, you're my sister, even though you're not my sister kind of thing. Mm-hmm. The natural second piece of that would be like, oh, like you're not my parents, but you were my parents. So I'm going to come visit your grave, say prayers, do all those kind of things still.
Yeah. You know, like in real life, that would be such a mind fuck, I guess, right? Like these people clearly were like lying to you and like didn't have your best interests at heart, but they also still were the people who would have raised you your entire life, right? Like up until the point that they died. Like they still, you would have had genuinely happy moments with them. You would have had, you know, all of the normal feelings that you have with parents. It's kind of a crazy thing to think about. Like if that was actually true, if that was actually real life. You also touched on the weird scene where like Zero was about to touch Baku and then stopped. Did you notice that he's not wearing his signature gloves in that scene either?
I didn't notice the gloves, but I felt like they got extra dramatic showing his code ring on his finger.
Yep.
And that was the only part that I really noticed of that, or like I thought about. But I guess that's opposite, or that's agreeing with your statement of his gloves weren't on, aka that's why they showed his ring finger.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like interesting. It's like clearly he's a little bit more vulnerable than he often is, but like clearly he has something with touching Baku, because like, you know, wasn't wearing his gloves, would have been like essentially skin to skin or like as close as that as you can get, and he reeled back. So like, yeah, it's either just because, hey, I'm your dad and that's too familial, or maybe there's something like extra weird nightmare power going on too. Who really knows? But yeah, so it seems like as well, we didn't get, I guess, 100% confirmation of this, but it seems like maybe this is leading towards Baku and Nem were basically spawned in a similar way, right? Like
they both have weird parent problems, that's for sure.
They certainly do, yeah. But of course we learned that Nem is like, was birthed from nightmares. So like the lady was kind of her mom-ish, but really she was born from the nightmares in the dream. And it's leading towards like maybe Baku, that's true as well of Baku. Like maybe the same thing happened with nightmares, and then Zero was the person who just like ended up with a baby.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll find out as we go. But yeah, I think great reveals there. I think that the scene in the graveyard was stellar. I just really liked all of that. And we do get other stuff going on with other characters too. So we've talked pretty extensively about the kind of flashback scene. We get to see a little bit of like Baku's fake dad in that too, which I think is pretty interesting. And I would be remiss, Toby, if we didn't point out that when we go to the command closet at one point in this episode, Fujimi suddenly turned into a smoke show all of a sudden. And he's just shirt off doing pull-ups. He's just got his wife pleaser on, and he's just like, he's all sweaty and he's buff looking. I'm like, when did you get hot? What, like, my mental image of Fujimi before this episode was like, yeah, he's like a 45-year-old, cigarette smoking cop, and now it's like,
fat
oh my god, he's a young, yeah, exactly. And now it turns out he's like a hottie. What are we doing here? Yeah, I also thought it was pretty cool. He kind of like he like deduced some stuff there. He actually like did some police work a little bit.
He might actually be good at his job. Be good at his job.
Because we finally got the reveal to the police officers that Baku has a string of bad luck, right? Like when he does good things, bad things happen to him. So Fujimi kind of like pieced it all together that it probably is black cases. So yeah, like he actually maybe was good at his job when he had a job, of course.
Yeah.
Because we can't forget, he's currently unemployed still. How did you feel about them like finally circling back around and kind of explaining the bad luck?
I don't know that it mattered to me, I guess. Like they did the stereotypical high stakes drama, like flash cuts of like, remember we got hit by the meteorite? Remember when this happened? Remember this happened? And they did the proper hype build and everything of like, I feel like in any other media, when like they helped me put the pieces together, or it was confirming the pieces I put together, that I would be all stoked and be like, oh, this is crazy. This is awesome. Like sweet, super grand reveal. And I guess because it's a Kamen Rider show and such random shit happens anyway, it didn't seem as like, it was cool that we established why all these things were happening and all came together.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I care enough where it was some exciting thing where I needed this, I guess. Or just like, it's just like, okay, this is a thing that happened. No biggie. Cool.
Yeah.
What else is going on today?
I would have lived without any further explanation for it. I think that would have been fine. But I am happy that they like did explain it, because this was one of our most confusing points from the very beginning of the show, right? Because the first reveal, when let's see, it would have been when Baku met Gotchard, right? He befalls a bad luck. I think it's the UFO, if I remember right, in that first one. I forget which was first, but yeah, I think it was the UFO. And then they like kind of don't really touch on that or why it happened for a long time. So I'm happy that they circled back and kind of tied that loose knot off. But I agree, it is ultimately pretty minimal.
Like, of all the like, I guess in an episode where they were teasing leading into Zero being his dad, the hey, weird shit happens to me in a series of weird shit that happens to people was such like the anti-reveal that I feel like I just didn't care that much about it after it happened. I guess is really what it came down to.
That is entirely fair. Yeah, totally. What do you think about there being code officials that are like higher ranking than Zero? Because clearly 3's talking to somebody who we haven't met yet, and so far we know Zero as kind of the head dude. So clearly there's like a bigger structure to this organization.
I feel like it feels like any good corporation where
there's always somebody who's higher.
Like even when you have a CEO, there's still like a ghost CEO above that person that's really pulling the strings, just never know about.
Yeah, you got the board who's calling the shots. Yeah.
But since you mentioned the 3 threat scene, then, and they're like, oh, you need to take care of this problem. He's out of control. I would have to assume after this episode, they're talking about Zero talking to his son Baku, or Zero having weird secret protective feelings of Baku versus like Baku doing too much. Like there's no other options for what that meant at this point. Now that we know the secret.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree. Like they obviously want you to think that it's Baku, but I think the obvious answer is the swerve is going to be that they're ready to take Zero out because they think he's gone off reservation. He either is protecting Baku in their eyes, or he has like a weird vendetta against Baku and they think he's ignoring Sieg. Like there's lots of I guess angles that you can take it where he might not be living up to what Code wants him to be doing. But yeah, I think it's got to be that Zero's the one who's actually going to get killed here instead of Baku.
I mean, because like obviously in the episode timing placement, I guess once you realize it's probably supposed to be Zero, the fact that they show Zero being weird dad at the grave makes way more sense. Of like they hinted to it, and then immediately after the intro, after the first commercial break, they showed you who they were talking about.
Yep,
but like
exactly.
They present it in a way all the way in the beginning where there's no like connective tissue to it, where you just assume like, but they're telling 3, yo, go stop Baku. He's just doing shit at this point. He's out of control. Just, we need to stop him up front.
Yeah, totally. I thought that Zero was like, what he said to Baku in the grave was also like really hard, because he basically is like, yeah, we're gonna eliminate you because you're a liability. We're also gonna kill everyone you care about. You've got one more day. I'll see you tonight. And I thought that was so cool. Like damn. We're just because the way he says it too, he's like, oh, and the people closest to you, of course. Like obviously we'd kill them.
I feel like tied to his, hey, he's doing things he's not supposed to. He's kind of out of control. Like part of his graveyard speech was, just so you know, this is all happening in dreams tonight. And was basically like a wink, wink, prepare yourself.
Yeah.
Or like you need to sleep because it's going to happen in dreams. If you want to stop this, you should probably be in your dreams. So like he's definitely like, Zero's definitely off the range and just doing his own weird thing. Because obviously all of this was him wanting to show Baku, I'm actually your dad. I've been around the whole time.
Yeah.
Look at when I gave you your first motorcycle, kind of deal.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, right. It's like this weird perverse way of like, hey kiddo, I'm your dad. Like whether like he did want to actually get defeated by Baku, or if it's just he wanted the truth to come out kind of at the end here. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, Zero's not the only person in Code who is clearly doing their own thing, because three's gone crazy too, right? He has inducted 5 into Code Somnia, which we still don't really know what that is, and he is clearly working behind the back of Zero at the same time. So again, much like a real corporate job, everybody is doing politics at all times, trying to get a one up of their fellow colleagues. Yeah. Nem has quite the episode as well. I just want to touch on her story here before we wrap up. So obviously Nem is in danger because Zero said, hey, we're going to kill everyone you care about. That would include Nem.
And her dream scenes, she looked fantastic. Of all the Nem outfits. I forgot to mention hers while we were going through it. But Nem was basically in, if you bought a Kamen Rider Zeztz onesie. with the hood over your face. There's no better way to explain it. She was in a big fluffy Kamen Rider onesie.
Yeah, they have to start selling that because it was too good. It's great because it's like all fuzzy, this cute little onesie, but it's clearly Zeztz, and like you said, it has the big hood. Just a fantastic costume, and like it's great. Like the dream didn't really have any other role to cast her as, is kind of how they explained it. It was like, I don't know, I guess this is what the dream's about. So here we are.
I'm just gonna hang out with you.
Yeah. So she's obviously there for a little while in the dream, kind of in the middle of the fight, and eventually she ends up in Sieg's headquarters, I suppose, and eventually gets rescued by Nox. Which I think is interesting, specifically because she obviously sees all the nightmares when she's with Sieg, and she's like, "Oh my god, like are all of these from me? Like did I cause all of this?" And she has a bit of a crisis with her mother in this episode too, of just like, who am I? What did I come from? Why do I exist? Like maybe I shouldn't exist. Kind of is her
Yep.
is her vibe. But Nox tells her as well, like, "Oh, are you worried about those nightmares? Don't worry. Like they're not you," which I thought was an interesting reveal. Like he kind of tells her like they existed before you. I think was how he had presented it. So we had kind of assumed that she was sort of the creator of the nightmares, or maybe she's just a nightmare sufferer as well.
Yeah, it's like she is the weird spawner of the nightmares, but she also lives in the nightmares.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, we get a funny scene as well between Nox and the lady, where the lady essentially sends him out to protect Nem. She's kind of telling him like, you got to keep Nem safe, and he agrees, but then kind of tells her like, yeah, because I need her too. Like I need her powers, right? Like it's important. And then she taunts him as he's leaving. She's like, always the good agent.
And he gets extra pissed off, and he's like, I'm definitely just doing my own thing. Don't talk to me like this.
It was such a great little knife twist that she didn't have to do to him. And I thought that was such a cool, like evil moment. It was like, what a good agent. Thanks for doing what I'm asking. So yeah, things aren't going well in Nem world over there either, but Nox at least does save her. And of course, yeah, she came face to face with her mom for the first time. She's like outside in the garden and sees her mom through the window, which I thought was pretty cool too.
Yeah, the way they filmed it is basically like a greenhouse door with no greenhouse behind it, and in a very CG heavy scene, it actually looked pretty legit of her like trying to like like prison glass style. They were hand to hand through this little weird floating door in the mystery garden, and it actually looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it all looked great. Like you said, like a pure kind of CG scene, but it actually like was pretty convincing. And the specifically like the decision to let her get her hand muddy and then get the window muddy by putting her muddy hand on it, I thought was great. Like it was a really cool visual. I liked it a lot. I think at some point Nem just like goes full nuclear, right? Like she unleashes her full power and something bad happens.
Yeah, I'm sure it would have to be. Like, I feel like at some point she could be like the big bad by no fault of her own.
Yeah,
just kind of like losing control of herself, kind of thing.
I could totally see that. It'd be like a Venom Carnage situation, right? Like the bad part of her takes over, and then they have to defeat it or something.
Yeah, even if only for like an episode or two, because I feel like they can't make Nem an actual villain. But I can definitely see her going like legit style or like legit version of like Dark Kawa, and just actually like being like, I can't believe I'm making these nightmares. I'm so angry. I can't help it. Here comes like the worst nightmare ever. Zeztz is gonna get his ass kicked kind of deal.
Yep, exactly. All right. Well, that's the episode. Let's transition over and read a couple emails, Toby. We've got a few emails this week. If you would like to send emails into the show, you can send those over to cast@commonwritersucks.com. Once again, that is cast@commonwritersucks.com. Our first email this week comes in from Adebayo, who is a new regular writer, I will say.
Definitely a new regular. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Adebayo says, "Hello, Toby and Josh. How are you doing today? I just wanted to say thank you for answering my questions. I really appreciate it, and I hope that I can deliver more. Anyway, here are my questions for the week. Question number 1. You guys were talking about baby maxing last week, so I just got to know, is this baby maxing? Picture below." So I'm going to send you the picture, Toby.
Please do.
I am. Hang on. Just Discord's being weird. And then I will describe the photo as well for the people who are in the audio version. Why are computers hard? Computers are apparently
a theater of the mind. We're gonna vamp and talk about things while Josh can't figure out how to send a message.
Apparently I'm an idiot. There we go. Did that work? I don't know. See if that link works that I sent you as well while I'm describing it. So this is, I believe it's a scene from one of the Yakuza games, and it's a bunch of like burly looking Yakuza dudes wearing diapers, wearing very, very obvious diapers, standing in a brightly painted children's room.
It's definitely a side mission. I don't remember which game it's from. They are maximum babies.
They certainly are. I don't know that it's baby maxing. Yeah, I think I agree with you there. So the backstory on baby maxing that we touched on last week, to bring that full circle. So at some point,
Josh was crushed by comments.
I was honestly, one of our crazy conversations that were happening in the Discord. Actually, I guess what started it is I posted photos of a leverless controller that I had customized, where I had made Xaid art on the top of the controller, and one of our friends, one of our listeners, Liv, said that this was the most baby maxing like moment that I had ever was creating this controller. And the big reveal for me was that you, Toby, frequently are baby girl and baby girl maxing, but me, this was a new thing. And I feel like a lot of people might be offended, like as a man, to be called a baby girl. But for me, it was the opposite. I was like, why is Toby a baby girl and I'm not a baby girl? How does this track?
I think the fact that you have to ask why is why you can't beat me in this.
You're probably right.
Like I just do. And
for you, it's just effortless. It just happens. And for me, I'm trying too hard, I think is
for
what
me,
it
it's
is.
Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. But we Toby and I talked about it offline, and it was the funniest conversation because I'm like, I'm not manly, I'm not macho. Why am I not baby girl? Like, what am I instead? Like, I don't get it. So that was very funny. And then to bring it all around, Toby, I can't escape baby girl maxing anymore because I didn't watch WrestleMania this past weekend, but I did see one clip from the show. And the clip that I saw from the show was CM Punk leaving the arena after his match. Someone throws him a t-shirt, he puts it on, and on the t-shirt it says CM Punk is baby girl. And I'm like, God damn it.
Hey, you just can't win. There's days you just can't win.
Just cannot. Everyone gets to be baby girl except for me, apparently.
Yeah. Because you're trying too hard. You're too I don't know.
I want it too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question, Adebayo, I don't know what baby girl maxing is. I'm still trying to figure it out. Toby clearly doesn't know either, but he effortlessly does it somehow. Question number 2 from Adebayo is, what are some of your worst or weirdest movie theater experiences? This is a fun one. So I have one that initially comes to mind if you need time to think.
No, I have one too. I think we talked about it when I'd have to hold on. Blah blah blah. All right, so it would have been whatever podcast episode came out like November 4th, 2023, or somewhere in there. When I went to see FNAF in the movie theaters, I would have been like 40 at that point, maybe 39. I was next to two small girls, like probably young teens, whatever, that were kind of like live blogging the movie to each other and just kind of explaining everything. And they were talking so loudly to each other that at one point I got frustrated and I tried to quietly say, like, can you please stop talking? You're very loud. But I was trying to do it in one of the moments where like there was background noise in the movie still. So I wasn't just yelling.
Yeah.
But of course, like the part I cherry picked, like the audio drops out kind of deal. So I was very loud and like quiet whispering, yelling at children. And it really only happened because I was frustrated in the moment. And then as soon as after it happened, and like even my review to you, and I told you in that podcast episode, after it was over, I just felt horrible about myself. Just because I felt like I yelled at children. Like I actually became that old person and yelled at children. So when the movie was over, instead of like, I don't think they were trying to hide from me or like not find the crazy old guy that yelled at them in the movies, but I tried to hide from them and just try to get out of the theater and like just kind of avoid that whole thing. So at least recently, that's the worst movie experience I remember. I don't really go to the theaters that much anymore, so I can't have any good stories off the top of my head at this point. But I'm sure I've seen some shit or been part of some shit at some points in my life.
Becoming a parent has allowed me to reframe yelling at random kids in public, because now I'm not the old man like yelling "get off my lawn." I'm now the surrogate parent, and your parents aren't doing a good job, so I'm going to step in and I'm going to fix things.
I guess that's basically what it was. Like,
yeah.
Just, like in my heart, like deep down in my soul, I know they were having fun and they were just talking to each other about the movie, which anyone can do. But I feel like movie culture is ruined because people just talk during the movies or go on their cell phones and take pictures of the movies and everything else. So I feel like they were just doing at-home voices in the theater and they were excited to see the movie. So like, I feel more bad about this story than I feel like I fucking told these people what's up. But like, it just sticks with me because I had the old man moment. And then I probably felt worse than they did. Like they probably don't remember getting yelled at during FNAF. Or maybe they do. Maybe I rocked their world. But this is we're coming up on 3 years of me doing this, and I still remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah. I'm like you, like where I kind of have I guess I have like a soft spot for kids being kids. Like I feel like a lot of the world these days is very geared towards like kids aren't allowed in this space, or if they are, they have to be like not heard, right? Like kids have to be quiet and not speak up. And like sometimes I see old people like looking at a kid who's just kind of like laughing and being a little loud and just like just like you were a kid one time. Like don't you remember this? Like what are we doing? But that being said, like the movie theater is like you gotta learn. Like you gotta know not to talk out during a movie theater, and like that's a social thing that you just have to pick up on. But I also like kids. Like I feel like a lot of these kids now that are talking in movie theaters are also like they're like COVID kids, right? Like they missed out on a lot of that like socializing that like they didn't learn those things, and that's like I guess also a bummer. But yeah, I mean I certainly in movie theaters get much more mad at adults who are talking or on their phone than younger people. I had one somewhat recently where we were at a kids movie. I can't remember what movie it was, but it was clearly a movie where this mom had brought like her kid and I think like maybe like even a couple kids friends, and clearly the mom was not interested in the movie at all because she sat a couple rows behind the kids and just played on her phone for the entire movie, but did it at like full brightness. Like the screen was like bright white. It lit up the entire theater. And we get like maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes into the movie, and like a couple people have like tried clearing their throat kind of loudly. She's completely ignoring it. And I think eventually I was just like, turn your phone off, like kind of just like speaking at full volume from across the theater. And she gave me like the most evil look and then turned her phone off for like maybe 20 minutes and then started doing it again. And it's like, God damn it, woman. Like one, like I get that you thought you could get away with it at first, but then you get called on it and you do it again. Just like at that point, I'm just done with you. Like we're through. There's no reconciling this relationship. But I was not afraid to confront her or anything. I didn't confront her, but I wasn't afraid to like walk by her after the movie. However, I do have a story where I was afraid to walk by people after the movie. One time, I guess this would have been like maybe freshman year of college is when this would have been. A friend and I went to a movie theater, and we sat kind of next to like a couple seats down from this really obnoxious couple. And the guy specifically just was talking at full volume kind of the whole movie, and he was just saying the dumbest things, and he was so obnoxious. And this is important to note, that my friend was sitting between me and the guy. So I can hear what the guy's saying, but I'm not sitting directly next to him. My friend is. I think with like maybe one seat between them. So, of course, the guy's mouthing off the whole movie. So what does young idiot Josh do? But I start heckling him, essentially. So whenever he says something, then I have some remark back that I say to my friend, but loud enough so the guy can hear. And eventually this goes on for so long that I find out later, my friend tells me later, that the guy at one point turns to his girlfriend and says, I think that guy over there is talking shit to me. So then the rest of the movie, I'm like giving this guy shit without knowing that he's like getting really fired up about it. And supposedly, according to my friend, I nearly got beat up after that movie, and we had to kind of hustle out of there pretty quick.
That's fun. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, so I almost caused an incident, and I think I probably added a couple years of I subtracted a couple years of life from my friend's life because he got so stressed about having to sit between the two of us for the whole movie. So yeah, sometimes there's some fun interactions to be had at a movie theater. Honestly, I think at this point, my approach would now be just to go get an usher and be like, hey, there's someone in there who's being loud. Can you come deal with it? And I would make it their problem, not mine.
I mean, that's probably the most realistic way where no one, like, there's no, not literal shots fired, but there's no shots fired then. I just always feel like if I'm going to go grab, like an usher or whatever, I feel like they're not going to be tactful enough to not follow me back in.
Yeah.
So like they're gonna see, like people are gonna see me walk out. I'm gonna walk back in with an usher. I'm gonna go sit down, and the usher's gonna be like, "Excuse me, sir. We've had some complaints that you're being too loud. If you be quiet, please." And that's obviously gonna be like they're still gonna know who did it.
Yeah, true.
But at that point, like I'm still doomed. So I might as well not do it that way.
My favorite theater around here is actually one of those. It's kind of like the Alamo Drafthouse where you can order food while you're there.
Yeah.
So they have like little buttons where you can call the waiter back if you want to like order food, or if you want to order popcorn, or if you want them to take plates away or whatever. So people are kind of pressing those buttons throughout the whole movie. So that would be a perfect theater to tell one of the ushers, one of the waiters, that someone's being a problem, because everyone would just think you were just getting more food or something, right? Like no one would connect it to, oh, hey, that person called the waiter, and then like 2 minutes later, this person got yelled at. Because it's just sort of happening the whole time. So there you go. You just got to go to better theaters.
I guess so.
Where it can be more subtle.
Or the other thing too is like, sure that I'm the person on the phone, but I feel like most, at least minor league sports that are around here, always put on like the Jumbotron, billboard things, whatever. If you're seeing issues in your area, text your area and seat number and row to like 61616 and we'll send somebody over. And like, I kind of wish they would do that for the movies, but then I'm going to be on my phone texting people during the movies, and I guess I'm kind of part of the problem. It'd only obviously be for things like people yelling, talking too loud, being stupid, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. Adebayo finishes his email. I actually just sent you the second image there so you can see it as well. Adebayo says, P.S. I'm now realizing that the masked rider, Kamen Rider, I believe it's pronounced Zeztz. I actually realized I don't actually know. So Kamen Rider Zeztz on the Sega CD was my earliest exposure to Kamen Rider, and honestly, I would like to play it one day. So yeah, Kamen Rider Zeztz, if that is how you say it, was an older Kamen Rider from the 80s. And then they made Kamen Rider Go, which is also Z and an O, later on. But yeah, this is a game that came out on the Sega CD, and if you look at the screenshots from the box, Toby, it appears that it is like FMV. It's like an FMV game.
So a very, very large chunk of Sega CD games that I remember were all the, hey, watch a movie because we can put movies on Sega CD and interact with it.
Yeah,
but
totally.
Now that I know this is a game, I'll try to bump this up on my list on patreon.com/the Kamen Riders for Toby Toku Game Club, because this seems like a prime game to be playing for that little thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I was sending you the box specifically, because it seems like it'd be perfect for your new series that you created. This is an interesting game to have gotten localized, right? Because we weren't getting the show. They just brought the game over, which is, I'm surprised they bothered, but it's interesting nonetheless. They also reference, it says, as the masked rider on the back of this box, you must battle evil genetic mutants that would make even Godzilla run for cover. They reference Godzilla in the text.
They're best buds.
Yeah. But yeah, that's both a masked rider, a Kamen Rider show that I've never watched, and a game that I've never played. So that's certainly a fun one. But I could totally see being a kid and seeing this box art and being like, what is this? This is crazy. He's like a superhero I've never heard of.
Look at Bugman.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, thanks for the email, Adebayo.
Yeah, thanks for the game. Thanks for the game knowledge. That definitely seems like looks like a cool one.
Absolutely. Our next email comes in from Unidentified. Unidentified is writing in about Zeztz episode 31 that we just talked about. Unidentified says, what's crack-a-lackin' comment writers and writettes? Been a minute since I've written in. With last week's huge reveal of Zero being Baku's father, I wanted to spotlight the actor Jay Kabira. For those who don't know, he's a very successful and well-known figure in Japan who comes from a significant media family. Jay is of Japanese and American descent, and his family has been part of Japanese broadcasting history for decades. His father, Chosei Kabira, was a pioneer in Okinawan broadcasting and an executive at NHK. Jay and his brothers grew up in the world of television. His older brother, John Kabira, is actually one of the most recognizable voices in the country as a longtime soccer commentator, also in the eFootball and PES games, and the narrator for the Japanese dub of Thomas and Friends, weirdly enough. Jay's role in Toku was back in 2005 in the original Garo, episode 15, where he played the horror Dantarian. He has mentioned that his fandom for the original Kamen Rider is what inspired him to take that role, and poetically, he finally gets his chance to shine in the franchise now. While his brother handles the professional broadcasting side, Jay became well known through acting and kids programming. He hosted Koronande Shoukai, Chatty Jay's workshop, on NHK for years as Jason, a cheerful singing shopkeeper. Seeing that transition into a cold, manipulative villain is a great example of the range he has. Because Jay is of mixed Okinawan and American heritage, his mother was from Kansas, he is bilingual, which is why Commander Zero often slips into English during high-stakes moments. Jay has noted in the past that being mixed race allowed him to be a bridge between cultures, and this likely played a role in his casting for this first multi-casted season of Kamen Rider. He has worked steadily across Japan dramas and international movies for decades, and I just wanted to spotlight why he was such a solid choice for the role of Commander Zero. And I need an excuse to mention Garo again to seep it into your subconscious. Anyway, thanks for your time. Hope everyone was enlightened. That's awesome. That's cool to learn about him and his family. I'm looking right now at a screenshot from Chatty Jay's workshop, and it is jarring because we only know him from Zero. So I'll send you this link as well. He's smiling, he's giving a thumbs up, and he's talking to two puppets.
Oh yeah, everyone loves puppets.
which is just fantastic. Yeah, he was probably one of the few people that was like very uniquely qualified for this role, kind of being bilingual and being able to do both. I imagine that pool of actors is probably not super large in Japan.
Oh yeah, probably definitely a thing, good. I'm sure.
So yeah, thanks for the info there on our new friend Jay. And then finally, our last email for the week comes in from Shade. Shade's writing in about case 30 and 31. Shade says, this week's episode, Baku did a reverse I am your father moment to Zero. I've never seen an I am your son moment before, so that was mildly amusing. Last time, on case 30 of Kamen Rider Zeztz, we find out that Minami wasn't planted into Baku's life, thankfully. They're basically just adoptive siblings, which is a sweet revelation for the storyline, and it brought some unexpected representation for adopted people. We also find out that Minami's code number was 17. Judging from her inexperience in fighting inside dreams, it seems that not all the agents were put through dream learning, and only the first 7 or so agents are capable of fighting inside dreams. Next up, we have Minami Trivia. Minami's actress herself is the one who voiced the cat nightmare in the episode. I suspected that was the case when we watched it last week, because it does kind of sound like her, yeah. This was apparently her first voiceover role ever, and she was very surprised when they asked her to voice the nightmare. The blog also points out that in the visuals for both the first and second opening theme, there's been a set of cat-like eyes flashing from the darkness. At the time, we never knew who this was supposed to be until now, and we get to see the mysterious set of eyes on Minami herself in the opening of episode 30. So that's a cool attention to detail there.
Yeah, definitely.
Shade also points out we saw the debut of the Ordurm form last time around. The form was unlocked by Baku's sheer determination to save his sister. He casted off Catastrom's muscle exterior to reveal the skeleton underneath. That is Ordurm. Shade says, I'm not being dramatic, by the way. Ordurm was actually based on a skeleton. The name Ordurm comes from the various meanings of the word order. Order as in the opposite of chaos, or to command, which is why you saw Zeztz use his dual-mare Capsum drone to fix Minami's dream world. He ordered the drone to restore order. Very subtle names, I know. Last time you guys talked about how Ordurm felt like an asshole because he just suddenly achieved the power to just fix everything, and I would slightly agree with that, but it's not really that big of an asshole if you really think about it. First off, Baku has been manifesting all of his major power-ups from the beginning. Catching a lightning bolt in a Capsum, catching his own inner nightmare in a Capsum. He's been willing his power-ups into existence ever since the beginning, especially during traumatic events. So Baku manifesting a new power to save his sister is not too much of an asshole for me personally. Okay, that's fair. I'll buy that. Second of all, I think Ordurm's debut being kind of out of nowhere like this is actually pretty interesting, because it implies that Zeztz is evolving very quickly. It took Sieg nearly 20 years to master the ability to manipulate dreams, and Baku just did it in less than half a year. It highlights how special Zeztz really is in the context of the series, and just how much of a threat Zeztz can be, and I really like that. Another thing I really liked about this form is the amount of time between Catastrom and Ordurm. You guys have seen enough Kamen Rider to see that Catastrom and Ordurm are a double power-up, similar to Gav's Over and Master form, or Geetz's Boost Mark II and Laser Boost. Most of the time, the first part of the power-up is often built up to be a new, overwhelmingly strong item that has a huge weakness, but then they solve that weakness 2 episodes later with the second part of the power-up. I can see why the show would do something like that. Once you buy the toy, you've basically seen both forms already, so there's very little reason to hold out the second one, commercially speaking. But they actually did that for Zeztz this time and helped the show a lot. Catastrom actually had 7 full episodes to dominate the strongest new form, and all the action scenes they've done for the form so far have been excellent. By the way, I don't know if you guys noticed it, you can clearly see that Zetz's driver does not fit well on Ordurm's chest plate. That thing has to have slid off center a couple times or two. Yeah, the picture here, like, it doesn't sit flush because of all of the like skeleton bones and stuff that are on the Ordurm farm. Yeah, so it is very funny looking in freeze frame. Apparently, the blog last week also talked about the final scene where they were having dinner together. It said the scene where Baku gives Minami a perfectly toasted piece of bread and eats his own piece of burnt toast with a big smile was a wonderful scene that perfectly captured Baku's character. It could easily have been a serious scene as the siblings embark on their new journey and make their choice for the future, but director Shibasaki's toast scene made it a heartwarming and lovely scene that was typical of the Yorozu siblings. Also, if you pay attention when Baku bites into the burnt toast, you can hear a metallic sound effect added by the sound effects director. And then we get some more behind-the-scenes photos. We move on to case file 31, talking about counter the assassination. That's the mission this time around. And we get to see the energy drink brand All Nighter Max in the beginning of this episode. Shade says, if you recall, we saw this brand of energy drink in case number 10 and 11 during the mission Retrieve the National Secret. So they're consistent, which is fun. Baku, of course, uses the dictionary again, and we get some more behind-the-scenes pictures. Minami and Nazca have cat slippers. They both have different pairs of cat slippers that they have on set, which is fun. And then they talk a little bit about Zero's dream section. Shade says, if you couldn't tell, the episode was directed by the series pilot director Kami Horiyuchi. All of the episodes that make you think, wow, this almost is like watching a movie, were directed by him. The entire sequence where Baku entered Zero's dream in the episode was his idea. Inside Zero's dream lies the Zeztz darkness nightmare. As you can see, it's a nightmare that took on the shape of Zeztz, so he's not an actual rider. Similar to the simulated version of Zeztz we saw in Nox's transformation lesson, the Zeztz nightmare does not have a driver, and instead, it has a blank chest piece like Zetz's projection clones. The Zeztz Darkness Nightmare is voiced by Koichi Yamadera. He's the guy who voices the Zeztz driver and yells, "Good morning, rider," in every episode.
He has a very good voice for that.
He does, yeah. Shade says this scene in particular is really cool, not just because it was a sick transition, but also because if you recall in the first opening theme, there was a scene where Zeztz was fighting a shadow version of himself. At the time, we all thought it was the nightmare within the capsums, but it turns out it was this guy, which is very cool. Then Shade talks about the big reveal, of course, of Baku being Zero's son, and the fact that every single bad thing that has happened to Baku was because of Zero's nightmare. But something else strange happened during all of this. Suddenly, the Zeztz nightmare manifested a darkness capsum. Yeah, so I did see people in the comments, speaking of the darkness capsum, people in the comments were pointing out that Nox this whole time has been saying, like, oh, there's a darkness encode. And then turns out there actually was, like, literally there was a darkness capsum hiding inside of a code member. So it was maybe more on the nose than we thought.
Yeah, like, again, like, that's one of those things where when there's secrets, they're very good about like sharing their secrets right away, and they do seem more on the nose than some other things are.
Yeah, totally. Shade also has some other news and tidbits for us. First up is that Zetz's Hyper Battle DVD special was released. It takes place pretty early on in the series, and it's basically an Ultraman parody featuring Zeztz turning into a giant to fight a kaiju alongside a giant robot Zero. That sounds insane. Currently, there's no clean footage of the special yet. It only came out in China, I think, so it won't be subbed anytime soon, but still, the special has a bunch of cool stuff in it. The most surprising thing is they created their own version of the Ultraman Rise sequence, transform and growing big, but instead of having him do a rise like how the Ultraman does it, they have Zeztz doing a rider kick towards the screen. It's very cool. What's even funnier about this is that there's already an Ultraman named Zett, 0, and 7. The cherry on top is that Ultra 7 and Ultraman 0 also have a dysfunctional father, a dysfunctional father-son relationship too. And then Shade has some social media related tidbits. First up is that popular voice actor Alex Lee has been garnering a lot of attention from Kamen Rider fans because he looks uncannily similar to Code Number 3 from Kamen Rider Zeztz. I'm looking at a picture, and yes, I would have been convinced that it was 3. So that checks out. Apparently, he is a Kamen Rider fan, so it's very funny, and he's caught up on Zeztz and responded to the comparison. He says he got to the point where they introduced 3, and all those dehydrated Alex Lee jokes are making more sense now, he says. And then another email here talking about the Kamen Rider Zeto-O game. Shade says next
everyone's piling up.
Yeah,
there's something we don't know about here.
Shade says next up is something a little weird. A popular gaming YouTuber by the name of Germa recently played the Sega Kamen Rider game Masked Rider Kamen Rider Zeto.
All right, so don't spoil it if there's spoilers or real conversation about it, because I want to try to find it and get it to work, and I don't want to know what I'm about to see.
Yep, I don't think Shade's gonna tell us much more about it, but
okay.
Yeah, I don't know if do you know Germa at all?
I know the name. I feel like he's old guard of gaming tubers. And he's friends with I feel like he's friends with some sort of YouTuber I used to watch where I know his name, but don't know who it is.
I'm not sure who that would be, but yeah, you're exactly right. He's old guard gaming YouTuber. He's definitely a dude who's most known for booting up old games like this. So it definitely fits in his wheelhouse. But yeah, he's pretty funny. I do really like Germa. But I didn't know that he had recently played this game.
See, everyone's stealing my great idea. Everyone's like, I'm gonna go play Kamen Rider games, and now it all goes to shit.
Shade goes on to say that Kamen Rider Zeto is one of the few Kamen Rider movies that was released during the 90s when Kamen Rider was in its series hiatus. It's a great 1 hour Kamen Rider movie with a straightforward story, fast-paced action, amazing practical effects and costume designs. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, it's because the Sega CD version of the Kamen Rider Zeztz game, as we said, it's a lot of the movie. Is what it sounds like. Much like many of the Sega CD games of the era, you're gonna watch a fair chunk of that movie while you play the game.
Yeah, it definitely seems like from what the like little snap synopsis thing was, like there was a time where like Dragon's Lair and time something, like there was a whole chunk of games which were basically like we're going to flash like a color on the screen while you're watching a movie, and you have to press up, down, left, right, action, whatever. And from looking at the brief synopsis, it's definitely one of those games where like you watch an episode and you have to have good reaction time and just press directions when you're supposed to press directions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those games, what's the other one? It's like Space Cop, I
think Space
something. Space Ace. Is it Space Ace?
Yep, it definitely. Yeah, Space Ace.
Space Ace. Those games suck.
Yep. Especially in the arcade. Like I used to love trying to like Dragon's Lair was always an interesting one for me to try to play in the arcade, but they're absolutely made to just eat money, like without a doubt. And there was one that was, I think it was a Sega game, but it used 3D holograms in arcades. And that was my actual favorite one to play, but it cost like $3 to play. And you only had like 3 lives. So that one was always like a huge money sink when I was little. I never got to play a ton of it. But those games are definitely like quarter eating nightmares.
Yeah. And they really only worked in that era because they were essentially just, we made an animated film and then chopped it up and made you press buttons at certain points in the film. Yeah. It looked so much more visually impressive when you're walking through the arcade than pretty much every other game, right? Like you essentially are seeing 8-bit pixel graphics, and then Disney movie right next to it. So I get why it was very popular, but yeah, when you actually break it down and think about the gameplay, there's not much there. And like you said, it is, you essentially can't learn, you have to memorize the game basically to play it.
That's exactly what it is.
So it purely is just quarter eating, but they're a fun kind of footnote in history, I think, at this point. Shade talks about how some of German's community is maybe even going to check out further Kamen Rider from this stream. So that's exciting. Yeah.
Do you see maybe they'll find their way? Do you see what's happening here, Josh?
Maybe those people will find their way over to our podcast. It'll be great.
I'm gonna go in the comments right now and leave a comment about this debacle.
Perfect. And finally, Shade finishes up by telling us that Nox's actor Furukawa Yuki recently did a tour of his newly acquired Kamen Rider collection. Ever since Zeztz has started, he's been collecting a bunch of Zeztz and specifically Nox merch, everything from the drivers, figures, to the trading cards. He somehow has 9 copies of a super rare Nox card, and he bought 4 different erase capsums purely for display purposes. It's wild. Finally, I'm going to end off on another social media tidbit, because Furukawa Yuki is making another Q&A video for international fans, and apparently my question is going to be featured in it. The video isn't out yet at the time of me writing this, but he did put out a teaser where he read my question out loud. So check that video out once it comes out, because I'm going to be in it. Wow, that's actually very cool. Congrats on that, Shade. And yeah, it seems like from what I've seen so far, he is awesome. Like this guy is just so excited to be playing Nox. And he is just collecting all of the toys, and he's just pumped about it. And we've had people like that in past series, and it's always such a cool thing. Like when someone is excited to be playing a role, I feel like it comes through really well in the role. Yep. And yeah, it's great. I wish everyone became a giant nerd for their character that they were playing in movies. Oh, yeah, so super fun stuff there. So again, thanks very much to Adebayo, Unidentified, and Shade for the emails this week. Once again, if you want to send in emails this week, you can send those over to cast@kamenwritersucks.com. Once again, that is cast@ KamenWriterSucks.com. Toby, I think that is going to bring us to a close for the show. Why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
On Twitter, it's Life of Tobes, and on YouTube, it's Tobes Plays.
All right. For me, you can find me on Blue Sky. I'm at meek.lol over there, and you can follow the show on Blue Sky as well. It is at KamenWriterSucks.com. Once again, we will remind you about the Patreon, patreon.com/thecommentwriters. It really is a whole different world of Toby and Josh over there. Lots and lots of fun stuff. And lots of stuff to watch along with us as well. So do check that out if that interests you at all. And we'd love to have you in the Discord. So yeah, we're gonna close it off there. We'll be back next time to figure out what happens with Baku and his dear old dad. And we do hope you join us back for that. But in the meantime, we hope you all have a great week. Peace.